I am back in New York and I'm so excited to be back. That is my high for my High-Low Buffalo. But I'm really excited also to record this episode about my tattoos. I will talk about if I regret any of them, how they healed, my experience with getting them, telling my parents, tips and advice so that you don't fuck up your tattoo. But before I get into it, my High-Low Buffalo, like I said, I am in New York, so I'm really happy to be here. And yesterday I spent the whole day flying, and the first flight that I got onto, it was so full that the only thing left was middle seats. And I was pretty upset about it because I get claustrophobic in planes. I was worried that I was going to have a panic attack, but thankfully I didn't, and I survived sitting in the middle seat with two people that had really wide bodies and their elbows were touching me the entire time. I was trying really hard to stay really closed and small in my seat, which was kind of uncomfortable. But one of the other episodes I talked about sitting in the aisle seat, which was also nerve-wracking, but the ultimate seat is the middle seat. So I think I conquered it. Maybe I'm not as scared as I used to be. Okay, and my low is also related to coming to New York, and I did touch on this a little bit in my vlog on my YouTube channel. Leaving home is hard to do, even though I'm always excited to come back. And this time when I hugged my mom, she cried, and my mom and my grandma cried. And they tried really hard to hide it. My mom literally put on her sunglasses. But it makes me really sad to see them cry. And this time I was able to not cry because I kept telling myself it's only a month and a half and I'll be back. And yeah, it's just really hard, I think, for my mom and I because we're like best friends with each other. I couldn't imagine, but I think being a parent and letting your kid go, I think that's really freaking hard. So props to her. And for my buffalo, also just related to the past 24 hours. Last night, I slept at 3 a.m. because I had to unpack everything and I just didn't want to leave all my crap in my room. I told myself, okay, I have to get up at 11 o'clock today. I'm literally recording this right now at 10 a.m. and I was awake at 8 a.m. and I'm so annoyed. It's such a weird thing that happens here in New York. I cannot sleep in for some reason. And then I woke up at 8 a.m. and I was like, are you kidding me? I'm so tired, but I can't go back to sleep. So then I was like, okay, I'm gonna try really hard to go back to sleep. So I closed my eyes and then I woke up at 8:30. And it's just such a weird thing that I do here. Anyways, on to the topic of this episode, everything about tattoos. Okay, obviously you guys aren't going to hear the messy parts of this podcast, but let me just say, it's just rough. This episode, recording this is so tough. I feel like I can't even I can't even speak right now. I think I forgot how to talk. But anyways, I'm going to start off with my current tattoos. So I have 7.5 tattoos, and I actually had to count my tattoos before I started recording because I forgot how many I had. But my first tattoo I got when I was 18 in San Diego, and it's of a star. It's a black star on my ankle. It's the only black tattoo I have on my body. The meaning of this tattoo, it's super deep, super complex, because if you knew me back then, I was like a goody two-shoes. And so when I got this tattoo, it had to be this really big meaning for me to justify it. And so that my parents would be like, oh, she's not stupid. She's getting this tattoo with this super deep meaning. But anyways, it is a tattoo that symbolizes what my parents have taught me ever since I was little. Wishing and wanting something is not enough. You have to actually put in the work. It's tied to a movie, Princess and the Frog, where Tiana, her parents tell her while she's wishing on a star that wishing on a star is not enough and that you have to work for it. So that's the whole concept behind my tattoo. And some people like to say it is technically a Disney tattoo. I don't think it is, because that's not first and foremost what it was meant to be. But I do see where people are coming from. Okay, so then my other tattoos are all red, and I decided on this red pattern once I got my first red tattoo, which is right on my back. It's around, I think it's on my right middle-ish side. I don't actually know because I don't see it that often, but it's of 4 Chinese characters, and it says 一颗千金, which means, the direct translation doesn't really make sense, but the proverb means time is precious. It's a proverb that I really like. And then the other ones are all on my arm. I don't even know. Oh, I got the one on my back in college, I think my sophomore year, a year or two after I turned 18. That one I got in Melrose in Los Angeles. Got my next tattoos on my arms in New York and San Jose. So the San Jose tattoo I got in my senior year, and it's of a mangosteen. And I had a bigger period between the Chinese tattoo and the mangosteen tattoo because I didn't really feel like getting anything. And I also was traumatized from my Chinese tattoo, which I'll talk about later. That tattoo is a symbol of love, basically, cheesy as it is, but I didn't want to get a heart. And instead, I just went for mangosteen because in Asian culture, the way we show love is cutting fruit and just like giving fruit. And so mangosteen is just one of those fruits that I love so much, and it's really freaking expensive. So I know I'm getting lots of love when my parents buy like a case, which is like $50 for the case of mangosteen. Oh, I also should go over the prices. The one on my ankle is $50. The one on my back was $270. The one on my inner arm was $75. And then I have a girl standing in front of a blank easel with a canvas on it on my outer left arm. That one's pretty big. It's like 1.5 inches. I want to say there's a deeper meaning, and there can be a deeper meaning. It's like, you know, life is your blank canvas and I have control over that. But I think I like came up with that meaning after I saw the tattoo because it was a flash. I just really like the tattoo artist and her drawings. And then I have a bike on my inner arm, which is a flash as well. I've always wanted a bike because one of my favorite memories was biking with my dad when I was younger. And we would have these like 2-3 hour conversations. And it was crazy because I was like this 7-year-old and I was having these like insane deep conversations with my dad about the meaning of life. And like, he was so sweet because he would listen to me and I felt heard. Those 2 tattoos together, which is the easel and the bike, I got in one sitting, and it was from the same tattoo artist, $150 for both total. And then I have a tattoo of a quote from a different New York City tattoo artist, and it is "What is done with love is done well," which is a quote from Van Gogh, and I just really like that quote. I have another tattoo on my inner left arm closer to my hand, and it's a stamp tattoo. It's medieval art, which I found out later, but it's of 2 lions, and it's like a mirrored stamp, so the right and the left side match each other. I think it's just a cool tattoo. It has really no meaning, but I do like lions. Yeah. And then the half tattoo that I'm talking about. So in senior year of college, one of my LA college roommates, she bought a stick and poke tattoo kit, and we had a roommate day towards the end of the year where we just did a bunch of random shit, and it was super fun. And one of the things that we did was stick and poke tattooed ourselves. So I decided to do this little teensy, not even a centimeter heart, and it's a black heart, and it's on my left, like close to my hand. I didn't really like it after I put it on because it was just too much. It was really dark. Because it was so harsh, I started like scratching at it to like get rid of it, because I looked up that if you really irritate your tattoo, because it is technically a wound and you just kind of keep opening the wound, it will fade the tattoo away. But by the time I started scratching at it and like kind of getting rid of the tattoo. It was like 2 days in, so the tattoo was kind of setting. I still have the tattoo there, but it's like semi there, and that's why I say it's a half tattoo. Yes, if you're wondering if I regret the tattoo, I kind of do, but don't, because I forget that it's there, and because I forget about it and it's not really that big of a deal, I don't really regret it. But whenever I do think about it, and I think right after I got the tattoo, I did really regret it. And the crazy thing is, I was really in the mood for a tattoo at that time. Because I didn't really like the stick and poke one and I was already in the mood for it, I actually booked a really last minute appointment the next day to get a tattoo. And I texted Natalie, my best friend, to draw me a flower. And props to her for doing that, because I know it's a lot of pressure to do something for somebody that's so permanent. And she drew this flower for me that I really liked, and now it's on my body, and it's on my left rib cage, and it is the only tattoo that my family doesn't know about. Anytime I wear a bra, no one can see it. So there's that. I don't regret any other tattoo at all on my body. And just a fun fact, a thing that I didn't expect about getting tattoos: when you get your first one, it's like a really big deal. Usually if you're like somebody that is scared of commitment or is worried about something being permanent on your body, it's a pretty big deal getting the first one. But after you get the first one, it's like the other ones are so easy to get, because you're like, oh, it's really not that big of a deal. And it really isn't. You forget it's there. That's the crazy thing. Like getting it on my ankle, I forget it's there. Especially the ones on my back where I don't look at my back, I forget it's there all the freaking time. So the only time I really notice them is the ones on my arm. And even then, it's like it becomes almost like part of your body. It's like another finger, your arm. It like becomes part of you and you don't think about it anymore. Onto my experience and the whole process of booking the tattoo, deciding on the tattoo, getting the tattoo, and the post-tattoo process, starting with coming up with a tattoo. So, I don't know, I just have a Pinterest board. It's really not that big of a deal for me. It's like getting a piercing. I see the tattoos on my Instagram and on my Pinterest for inspiration, and I save them if I like them, and sometimes once in a while I'll get the urge to get a tattoo. And if the urge is strong enough and I know what I want, I'll get it. And if the urge is strong enough and I don't know what I want, I usually come up with what I want, like the flower one on my rib cage. And I pick out the tattoo artists now from my Instagram. So in the beginning, I did this whole search thing on Yelp and Google, but it really isn't the best way, I realized, because tattoo artists are specialized usually in a specific type of tattoo. I like a lot of fine line tattoos, and I will only go for fine line tattoo artists that have done red or color tattoos. I also like to choose artists now based on the style of art that they do. There's a lot of tattoo artists there that are actually artists. I think it's really cool. I love art, and so it's really cool to have someone's art on my body. And I obviously make sure that they have their licenses, they are getting good reviews on their comments. So Instagram is honestly my best friend for finding an artist. And then I book my appointment. Sometimes I book it a few months ahead. Sometimes I book it for the same week, which is crazy because my first tattoo took me 2 years to decide on and to commit to until I finally got it. And then for actually getting the tattoo, so going in, the process is pretty much they should have your sketch ready. You should only really be going in to edit and adjust the sketch that they send you. And if it's not, that is a little bit of a red flag. You should give them feedback. Oh, I kind of want this bigger, I want this smaller, and they'll print out multiple sizes, and then you'll have a stencil stuck onto you at the place that you ideally would want it, and the stencil is obviously removable, and then you'll get it placed in random spots. And this part still to this day makes me a little bit nervous because I feel bad for making the tattoo artist wait for me, but then I always remind myself during this part of the appointment that for me, it is something that is going to be on my body forever. So if I'm not obsessed with it, I need to take my time. And then afterwards, there's the tattooing part. And for me, I don't know if it's because I have pretty good pain tolerance. Like other people say it hurts pretty bad, but for me, it feels fine. It feels like kind of scratching me with their nail. And I know it hurts a lot more in areas that are closer to the bone. So especially if you get it on your spine, it will hurt a lot more. And shading does hurt. You basically have to scratch the same area over and over in order to get the shade. I could fall asleep getting it. It's really not that bad. The healing process is pretty good. I only really had one tattoo that peeled a little bit. I know from my friends who have larger tattoos, especially tattoos with shading in them, they will peel, they'll be super itchy. It only really lasts about a week, the itchiness, and then afterwards you're good. Right after getting the tattoo though, you can't sweat for like a few days. You also can't drink for a few days because it thins out your blood and makes you bleed more, and it will lead your tattoo to be a lot more blotchy. The other part that I have to worry about, I think this is like the only thing that I really worry about when it comes to my tattoos, and it is telling my very conservative parents. Conservative as in they're very traditional and conservative about specifically tattoos. And I've talked about this before, but the only things that my parents didn't want me to do ever in my life was two things: drugs and getting a tattoo. And I broke the tattoo rule. I obviously getting my 7.5 tattoos, and my mom knows about all of them except the one on my rib cage, and my dad knows only about 2 of them because I'm scared to tell my dad because he gives the biggest reaction to my tattoos, which is a lot to handle. And it did traumatize me after I got the one on my back, which is why it took me so long to get my next one in senior year. Really, he like reminds me, and both parents remind me, but my dad reminds me like at least once a week to not get a tattoo randomly. The conversation that I had after I got my Chinese tattoo, it was a 3-hour long conversation where he basically tried to tell me and convince me that he has control over my body and that because he's my dad, I cannot get tattoos. We just could not see eye to eye. My argument was that at the end of the day, it's like up to me what I do with my body, and like he really cannot tell me what to do. And also like when he passes away, who's going to be there to tell me what to do? And I also was saying that no one is being harmed, no one is getting hurt by getting a tattoo, and his comeback was, what's the benefit of getting a tattoo? What good is it doing? And I was like, not everything that everyone does is good. Felt like I was just talking to a brick wall because he is such a stubborn person when it comes to serious things. And so it was 3 hours of us going back and forth saying the exact same thing, me crying because I was angry, and that was so annoying because sometimes I get so angry, I start angry crying, and it makes me feel like my argument and how serious I am is like not as strong, if that makes any sense. I had to get over it after 2 years, but thankfully I did, and obviously I did because I got 4 more tattoos after that tattoo. And after many years of that talk, I kind of just accepted that this is the case, and I'm just going to have to keep disappointing my parents so that I can get my tattoos. And at the end of the day, I still stand by what I've told my dad, and I'm proud of myself and happy that I stood up for myself because I usually don't. Oh, also, am I going to get any more tattoos? Yes, I will. I want to finish off this left arm with a few more red tattoos, just many things. And I'm also very open to other people's art. So if I see any cool art out there, I'll probably just get it somewhere on my body. Okay, so for the last part of the tattoo talk, I am going to go over some tips that I picked up along the way. First off, I already kind of touched on this, but this is super self-explanatory. Make sure that your tattoo artist has a tattoo certification and that they have done the tattoo specifically that you want. And you should also take a look at their healed photos and make sure that they healed properly, because that's a huge part. When you're deciding on what tattoo to get, it's really important to consider your older self. Just think about yourself when you're like 60, 70, 80 and ask yourself, would you be okay with having this on your body? You should also consider the careers that you want to go into and like how your life will maybe unfold. I know this is kind of a big decision, but that's part of why tattoos are really scary. It's going to be on your body forever. So regardless of the stage that you are in your life, that tattoo is going to be there and it's not going to look as good when you get older. So you should really, really, really be confident right now that you will be happy in the future, because it can only really get worse. Also, with getting your tattoo and considering what it will look like and where you will place it, it's good to note that if you put the tattoo closer to a bone or somewhere on your body that usually doesn't get exposed to the sun, it will heal and look better in the long run. Right now, the tattoo that I have on the outer arm, I know that tattoo is not going to look as good as the tattoos that I have on my inner arm or my back. And they are the lowest maintenance. Just FYI. The ones on the outside, I have to really make sure that I put sunscreen on, and if it's really sunny, I will purposefully like cover that part of my body, not by just my clothes, but with my hands as well when I'm walking outside. Also, bring cash to your tattoo appointments. If you bring cash, your tattoo artist will be super happy and you will be happy as well, because they usually won't charge you tax or a credit card fee. There's been so many times that I like spent $20 to $30 more on my tattoo just because I didn't freaking bring cash. And that's so annoying. So save your money. Tattoos are expensive. On the subject of money, because it is something that's permanent, and because usually the better the tattoo artist, the more money you spend, because of that correlation, I think it is worth it to spend more money on the tattoo. I spent $50 on the ankle tattoo, and it's very clear that it is not as good quality as the $270 tattoo written quote that I have on my arm. And that artist, she is so talented. Her line work is insane. The $270 was a lot for that size of a tattoo, but she did such a good job. And finally, the last bit of advice is, this is not a time to be a people pleaser. When you go into your tattoo appointment, be completely selfish. Remember that you spent the money and that you can always say no. So during the appointment, I do this all the time. You need to check in with yourself and be like, do I actually like this? Am I obsessed with it? Do I have any doubts? Do I have a bad feeling about this? And if you do, you should address those bad feelings. You really want to feel very confident and happy. And also what's really helpful is bringing a friend with you to the appointment so that they can check in with you and they can make sure that you're not overwhelmed or you're not making a bad decision. They can possibly offer a second opinion. They could also be there to remind you that you can always walk away. And I think it's worth giving up the $100 to $50 deposit that some artists ask for, just so that you can be happy with a better tattoo. So if you're not happy with it, just give up that $50, $100, whatever the deposit was, and just leave. In the long run, you're going to lose a lot more money and you're not going to be happy with what's on your body. That is everything. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you very soon because I am doing 2 episodes for this week since I uploaded late, and I'm again holding myself accountable. If I do not upload on the right day, I am going to upload 2 episodes. Bye.